FaZe Clan finished out Stage 3 of the Blast Austin Major with a statement against the Mongols, taking away a 5-0 lead on Ancient just to show the Mongols that they were never really in control. Finishing off Anubis with one of the most dominant maps of any team at the entire major. And lucky for FaZe Clan, their first playoffs opponent was the Mongols. And that's not all. FaZe's top side of the bracket looked so fucking winnable. A simple ZywOo Major Grand Final looked destined. Instead of having to survive in the dogfights of the lower bracket, playing against the newly back in form Na'Vi, the controlled chaos of Donk's team spirit, the unrelenting firepower of Mao's clan, and the absolute pressure of the most dominant team in all of Counter-Strike's existence. Instead, FaZe got to play against the team they just beat 2-0, a good-looking but very young international Furia roster, and the most bipolar pain roster ever. How the fuck did they make it to playoffs? And wait, what? They're now in the semis? And yes, by the way, Vitality is having the most dominant era ever, greater than 2019 Astralis, greater than 2013 NIP. This Vitality might not have the vast well of depth of Glaive's Astralis.
Here they come, the airstrike, tactical nukes coming in, both kills landing, oh my goodness.
But having this much reliable support around a man I swear to God has Ultra Instinct is fucking terrifying. 2 words: fear, aura. As of writing this, I just watched this team with multiple teenagers fully rise to the occasion. Senzu, having left so much to say in Shanghai, looked so sure of himself in this match. Mazinho and 910 and even Techno feeling so reliable when they were needed. Blitz's self-assuring system of chaos would make Mikael Tal proud. Yeah, that's a chess reference. I, however, cannot say the same for FaZe. When Kerrigan is at the top of the leaderboard, something is very, very, very wrong. I'm not going to say that FaZe didn't have some great moments in this match. Elise and Frozen really picked it up on Anubis, but holy shit, where were they on Mirage? Rain looked absolutely absent from any opportunity he was given, and as their A anchor, he has to convert a retake. And why the fuck does CASIOPEA keep buying the XM? CASIOPEA was obviously the biggest issue in the series. Stats can be misleading, but CASIOPEA looked like every play he made he questioned himself. He never looked comfortable in Anubis, not even for a moment. And if we look at his time on FaZe, this has been by far his best map. And I think we all know what happened. He choked. It's been years since he's been on stage. It's been years since he was on a team that going into the playoffs was the favorite to make the final. His head was in the clouds, and without being able to ground himself, there was no real hope for FaZe. And I know this all sounds very harsh, but honestly, FaZe really blew past my expectations. FaZe looked so shaky all year, they didn't even qualify for Stage 3 after making the past 2 major finals. It was an uphill battle from the start, and with a stand-in, their hopes of winning a CS2 major looked frankly not possible. I'm sure most people are going to remember CASIOPEA at this major for the last match's poor performance, but what the fuck? Are we forgetting his 1.35 rating in groups? Even with FaZe losing 3 matches, he was still a top 5 player going into playoffs, and with the eye test, CASIOPEA looked a little inconsistent, but being inconsistent and still that high of a rating is absolutely, completely insane. I truly think that even though this FaZe run ended sooner than most of us would have liked, both FaZe and CASIOPEA have honestly proven themselves. FaZe is still a top contender in the world even after they lost their star player and their poor performances this year and benching their highest rated player last year. And CASIOPEA, as a hater of CS2, basically retiring in 2023, saying fuck this international Na'Vi roster, fuck this game, then sitting and having to watch that Na'Vi roster have CS2's first era culminating in Na'Vi's second ever major win. I mean, wow, that's gotta really fucking suck. CASIOPEA even talking about how during that time he kinda was hoping for them to lose. CASIOPEA, the greatest Counter-Strike player of all time, leaves, and it makes the team better. If CASIOPEA stayed on Na'Vi, would they have won more? Would Na'Vi have won anything at all? It's hard to say. I don't really give a shit about how things look on paper. Wonderful matters to this Na'Vi roster, and I'm not going to pretend like just because simple is simple, that they would have been better. But whatever the case is with any hypothetical we could have with s1mple in CS2, we now know he's got what it takes, and I have high hopes for how well he'll play if he continues competing and gets some more CS2 LAN experience. Watching s1mple on some of these rounds just re-peeking everything, gambling on his ability and then just hitting the shot. Watching him pull out a deagle and hit a headshot like it's a FaceIt match is just so fucking sick. I watched every FaZe match this tournament and it was totally worth it. Kerrigan just has this uncanny ability that maybe one or two other IGLs have of just completely understanding a player and knowing how to activate them after sometimes just a few days of playing with them. Kerrigan with the most trophies ever with stand-ins, a leader that players are so excited to play with no matter how low his stats get. His impact on the server never truly dwindles. And watching him a few months before the major really being affected by FaZe's bad performances and going back into the lab and working on his individual performance and studying teams and writing more in his playbook, it was beautiful. To see someone who has won it all, proved away all of his doubters, cut from Astralis, cut from FaZe, and then winning on Mouse, and then back on FaZe, and then winning on FaZe to still want more, that's fucking rare. Olafmeister has talked about losing his drive after winning so much, and that really affecting the latter end of his career. He just didn't care anymore, and it's understandable. And it would be understandable for Kerrigan too, but he proves that trope wrong every single day, coming back to the server playing with the same amount of intensity as he played all the way back on TSM. Elijah is someone who feels like he's been reinventing himself in CS2. Last year with Complexity and now making a major playoffs with FaZe, having his first HLTV top 20 placement in the last 3 years, it has honestly felt like for a long time that the hundreds of problems with NACS that even the most talented best of the best of NA were doomed to at most make a placing at an S tier tournament, but never more than that. Elijah in 2019 turning an NA roster into the most dominant team in the world, finishing with NA's only era, not a beautiful fluke, but an NA team that is actually the best in the world. And then still Liquid failed to make even a final at Berlin or Katowice. I felt like that was Elijah's last chance to win, and Bad Fallen's curse was to ring in little Jonathan's head every night for the rest of his life. But no, Elijah's still here. He still has been here grinding, working hard to make himself better, and now with FaZe under Kerrigan's system, I think we aren't even close to seeing Elijah's full potential. Frozen and Rain as well are players who still want more. Rain has 2 fucking kids and he's still grinding away every day to win more. Frozen has made 2 major finals now, and he's played well, but if he wants that beautiful yellow banner on his HLTV that says, "You are fucking nice with it," then he's gotta dig a little deeper. And I really do think he will. So what's the takeaway with FaZe s1mple? Was it a successful event and FaZe are back on top and they're the best team in the world? Or was it a complete failure since they didn't win? I think it's somewhere in the middle of those very extreme opinions I'm sure all of you were seeing online. Will s1mple sign with FaZe and begin a new era of dominance and win in Budapest? Will s1mple sign with FaZe and it's a complete disaster? Will s1mple kick Wonderful to the bench and pull a Zeus and go back to his true love of Na'Vi? Or maybe he joins some other organization. Maybe a young Ukrainian team with a lot of star power that just needs some veteran guidance? Time will tell. Tell me what you think will happen, and tell me what you thought of this style of video. I really like the idea of just writing down all my thoughts about something and somehow trying to make that into a video. Thanks for watching, and remember, you can always afford a deagle.